Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the sources you send us, dig in, and pull out the key insights.
Glad to be diving in again.
So today, we're tackling something generating a lot of buzz. Tesla's Robotaxi launched down in Austin, Texas.
Right, the big rollout.
We've got the latest reports, and you've even sent us copies of those specific invitations that went out to influencers.
Yeah, those are pretty revealing.
So our mission is to, cut through the noise. What is this launch really about operationally? Forget the hype for a second.
And what does it mean for the future of self-driving? And maybe crucially for anyone thinking about using it, what's the actual rider experience like?
Okay, let's get into it. We've heard chatter for weeks, right? The big Robotaxi launch, Elon Musk even talking about no driver test vehicles. But the actual details, especially from those invites we mentioned, they tell a slightly different story, don't they?
Yeah, quite different. It's fascinating because the immediate headline isn't no driver, it's actually the opposite. There's a mandatory safety monitor right there in the front seat.
Which is, wow, a huge detail.
It completely reframes it. It's not this unsupervised service people might have pictured. It's much more controlled.
That is critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really puts things in perspective. Some reports are calling it a bit of a game of smoke and mirrors, maybe?
You can see why they'd say that.
Especially thinking about Tesla's promises. The full self-driving for regular cars, aiming for unsupervised driving.
Right.
But this Austin service, it's explicitly described as geofenced. It needs teleoperation support so humans can jump in remotely if needed. And it's run by a small internal fleet. Not exactly no driver, at least not yet.
And if you compare that just briefly to competitors, think about Waymo. They tested with safety drivers for months, then without safety drivers for months, all in Austin, before launching commercially earlier this year.
A very different approach.
Yeah, Tesla seems to be jumping kind of straight to a public-facing launch, but keeping that human supervision firmly in place.
And the invites confirm how tight the controls are? These went to, pro-Tesla influencers.
Primarily, yes.
And riders have to agree to a ton of terms, have a credit card on file. They can only request rides through the app between 6 a.m. and midnight.
And only within a very specific area, no airport runs, for example.
That really limits things.
It raises big questions about, operational scale. The service might be limited or even unavailable if the weather is bad, and only the person invited can get the app.
So you can't just decide to try it.
Nope. Plus, strict rules inside. Be respectful, no smoking, no alcohol, no illegal stuff. And interestingly, no recording proprietary bits of the Robotaxi. If you post content showing misuse, you could lose access.
It sounds less like a public transport option and more like a curated experience.
Almost entirely bespoke, yeah.
So beyond the safety monitor, you've got the geofence, the invite-only access, the rules.
Yeah.
It really paints a picture of something very controlled.
Definitely.
Some are saying it's less a full launch, more a public demo, maybe for optics, to say they, quote, launched its Robotaxi on time in June.
It certainly highlights the gap Tesla still needs to close compared to, say, Waymo, if the goal is truly unsupervised driving.
Right, because the appeal of Waymo,
Yeah.
what people pay for, is having no one else in the car. That's the whole point for many.
Exactly. This version, with the supervisor and all the restrictions, it just doesn't scale in the same way. It's not designed for that yet.
So where does that leave us? This launch, despite maybe the initial excitement, is really a highly controlled, supervised service.
It shows the hurdle's still there for truly driver-free cars.
Feels like a closed beta test dressed up as a finished product launch, maybe. A lot for optics, hitting that June deadline.
And it suggests Tesla might be, quite a bit behind competitors like Waymo on the unsupervised front. Waymo's key value is no driver. This current Tesla service doesn't deliver that at scale.
Which brings us to the really interesting part, I think. Given all these limits, the need for the safety monitor, what does this realistically tell us about a timeline? When might we see truly driverless ride-hailing widely available in cities?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
And maybe more personally. When you eventually hail a robotaxi, what level of autonomy are you actually expecting? Will you be okay with the monitor, or do you expect it to be truly empty?
Something for all of us to think about.
Definitely something to chew on until our next deep dive.